The sun had just begun its climb over the sleepy ridges of Pine Valley, stretching rays of molten gold over tall grasses that swayed lazily in the breeze. The horses grazing on the pasture below hardly noticed the beauty of the morning. They were too busy tearing mouthfuls of sweet clover and shaking off flies. But one horse, a mare named Lark, had wandered farther than usual, curious nose leading her past the edge of the field and into the treeline. She sniffed at the mossy earth, pawed a root, and flicked her tail in simple contentment. She had no idea that death waited in the shadows. Coiled in the thick brush, eyes glittering like molten coins, the python lay silent and patient. It had been days since its last meal, and its hunger had grown unbearable. Every ripple of muscle beneath its mottled scales screamed for release, for action, for prey. The moment the horse's shadow fell across its hidden nest, the predator's body tensed like a drawn bowstring. In one explosive lunge, the serpent surged forward. Lark screamed, an equine cry of shock and terror that carried clear across the valley. The python's body slammed into her side, looping coils around her midsection, crushing ribs with terrifying precision. Her legs kicked wildly, gouging the earth. Dust and feathers of grass swirled in the air as she struggled, eyes rolling white in panic. The python squeezed tighter, jaw yawning wide as it sought a hold near her throat. The sound of bones groaning under pressure rose with every passing second. That cry of anguish did not go unheard. Miles away, on the dirt road that cut through the valley, a battered rescue truck rumbled toward the farm. Its siren was silent, but its team inside was always ready. The heroic rescue team, as locals called them, was a strange mix of specialists, firefighters, paramedics, animal wranglers, and adventurers. Their purpose was not just to fight fires or save people, but to handle whatever crisis nature or chance threw at the town. And Pine Valley had seen its share of crises. Inside, Captain Marlowe's eyes narrowed as he heard the distant cry. He gripped the steering wheel tighter. "That wasn't no cow," muttered Clay, the animal wrangler, leaning forward. His rugged face was etched with years of dealing with wild creatures. "That was a horse, and something's wrong." Beside him, medic Serena clicked her seatbelt. Her voice was calm, yet urgent. "If that horse is in distress, we don't have time to guess. We need eyes on it now." Marlowe hit the accelerator, the truck jolting forward. "Hold on, team. We're about to earn our pay." They burst onto the pasture moments later, dust trailing behind. What they saw froze even the most hardened hearts. In the treeline, the python had nearly engulfed Lark. Her front legs buckled as the monstrous coils continued to crush. Foam flecked her lips, eyes bulging. The serpent's tongue flicked in and out, tasting her despair, its jaws already angling for the killing bite. "Holy hell," Clay whispered. "That's the biggest snake I've ever seen in this valley. 10, maybe 12 meters. Bigger," Serena said grimly. "And it's killing her fast." Captain Marlowe slammed the truck into park and leapt out, barking orders. "Clay, your point with the snares. Serena, prep the tranquilizer gun. Ethan, get the cutting tools. If we need to pry it off, we'll need leverage. No hesitation. Move." The team scattered with flawless precision, each member grabbing gear. This wasn't their first battle against nature's fury, though none had faced a python of this magnitude. Yet the horses' cries pierced their hearts, fueling a fire of determination. Clay was first on scene, rope and pole in hand. "Hey!" he bellowed, charging at the writhing mass of scale and flesh. "Over here, you bastard!" He swung the snare pole, aiming for the serpent's head. The python hissed, a sound like steam escaping from hell itself, and whipped its massive tail at him. The blow sent Clay sprawling, dirt caking his face. "Clay!" Serena shouted, dropping to one knee. She raised the tranquilizer gun, lined up the shot, and fired. The dart buried itself into the thick muscle just behind the serpent's jaw. The python recoiled violently, thrashing coils tighter around Lark in agony and rage. The mare shrieked again, the sound nearly breaking Serena's heart. Hold steady, girl, we've got you, Serena whispered, as though Lark could hear her promise. Captain Marlowe grabbed a heavy pry bar from Ethan, his muscles straining as he drove it into the gap between the python's coils and the horse's heaving ribcage. Ethan, on 3. 1, 2, 3. Together they pulled, using all their strength. The bar groaned, the coils shifted, but the python clamped harder, fueled by primal survival instinct. Damn thing's stronger than steel cables. Marlowe spat. Clay staggered to his feet, shaking the dirt off, rage burning through the pain in his ribs. He looped the snare around the python's thick neck and yanked with every ounce of might. Get its head away from her. Come on. The snake hissed furiously, thrashing against the restraint, its body flailing with terrifying force. Leaves and branches rained from above as the battle shook the forest floor. The tranquilizer was beginning to work, but slowly. Too slowly. Each second was a hammer against the horse's life. Pressures crushing her lungs. Serena shouted, rushing to Lark's side. She pressed her ear against the mare's chest, listening between the chaos. She won't last another minute. Marlowe's jaw clenched. There was no room for failure here, no space for doubt. He slammed his boot down on the python's body, wedging it for leverage, and bellowed, Ethan. Axe. Now. Ethan, sweat streaking down his face, pulled the heavy rescue axe from his belt. His knuckles whitened around the handle. If I miss, you won't. Marlowe snapped. Do it. The axe whistled through the air and struck with a sickening crunch. The serpent recoiled, scales splitting, blood spraying. It writhed violently, coils loosening at last. Lark gasped, lungs sucking air in ragged, desperate gulps. Her legs twitched, scrambling to push herself up. Serena immediately dragged her out of the coils, reach, shielding her body with her own. The python, though bleeding, was far from defeated. Its head whipped around, golden eyes blazing with hate, fangs flashing as it struck. Clay barely yanked back in time, the jaws clamping shut inches from his arm. This thing's a demon, he growled, wrestling with the snare pole. The battle spiraled into chaos. Dirt and blood mixed beneath their boots. The snake thrashed like a storm, tail lashing, mouth snapping. The rescue team was no longer just saving the horse, they were fighting for their own lives. Marlowe gritted his teeth, his vision tunneled, every instinct screaming that this was more than an animal, it was nature's fury personified, a test of their courage. He grabbed the pry bar again, shoving it under another coil, straining until his muscles screamed. We finish this, together. Serena, eyes blazing with determination, reloaded another dart and fired straight into the serpent's open maw. The dart buried deep, and this time the tranquilizer hit its bloodstream fast. The python's thrashing slowed, movements becoming sluggish. It hissed, a long, drawn-out exhale that shivered across the ground. Clay seized the moment, tightening the snare. Stay down, damn you. With a final heave, he pinned the snake's head against the earth. Ethan swung the axe again, not to kill, but to sever the last coil pinning Lark's hind leg. The blade bit deep, blood spurting. The snake convulsed one last time, then collapsed, muscles twitching in reluctant surrender. Silence crashed down over the forest. For a long, terrible moment, all that could be heard was the ragged breathing of horse and humans alike. Dust floated lazily in the golden sunlight, mixing with the iron tang of blood. The rescue team stood panting, sweat-soaked and trembling, staring at the enormous serpent that had nearly claimed their lives and Lark's. Then, a soft sound broke the silence. Lark nickered weakly, pressing her nose against Serena's arm. The medic's eyes filled with tears as she stroked the mare's trembling neck. You're safe now, sweetheart. You're safe. Relief rippled through the team, though exhaustion weighed heavy. They had won, but just barely. Marlowe wiped his brow, voice hoarse but firm. Check her injuries. She's priority. Serena ran skilled hands over Lark's sides, listening to her lungs, feeling her ribs. Cracked ribs, maybe one broken. Bruising all over. But she's alive. With care, she'll recover. The captain let out a long breath, shoulders sagging. Good. That's good. He looked down at the python, still breathing shallowly, its great body sprawled across the clearing. And what do we do about this? Clay spat into the dirt. It's a killer. We should finish it. But Serena shook her head firmly. It was just being what it is. Hungry, wild. We stepped into its world, not the other way around. Let the wildlife authorities decide. Marlowe studied the fallen titan, then nodded. She's right. We're not executioners. We protect life, human or animal. They secured the python, binding its jaws and coils with ropes thick enough to hold a bear. It would be handed over to the proper authorities, studied, relocated if possible. But none of them would forget the fight, or the sheer terrifying majesty of the beast. As they loaded Lark carefully into a transport trailer, her breathing steadier now, the team exchanged weary glances. Bruised, battered, and shaken, they felt the bond of survivors, the knowledge that in the face of death, they had stood shoulder to shoulder and prevailed. The valley returned to quiet, the sun climbing higher, painting everything in forgiving light. Yet the memory of the battle burned in their hearts. A heart-stopping battle, indeed, one that would be told around Pine Valley for generations. Because heroes aren't always those who face enemies in war. Sometimes, they are the ones who answer the cry of an innocent creature, charging headlong into danger with nothing but courage, loyalty, and the unyielding will to protect. And that day, in the heart of Pine Valley, the heroic rescue team proved themselves heroes once again.